Felder and Silverman sought to understand the varying learning styles of engineering students in 1988. Within this learning style, there are a potential of 32 different learning style combinations. The different styles are created through choosing one option or the other. For instance, sensory/visual/active/global. It is important to remember that although everyone has a preference toward one end of the spectrum or the other, everyone will use both sides at times. This continuum, active and reflective, is based on the works of Kolb, who called them active experimentation and reflective observation. The active and reflective preferences address how learners process new information. Active learners prefer to be doing or external manipulation of content. They will retain information best when they are using hands-on applications and doing something with the information. This can be as simple as discussing or teaching the information to others. The active learner also prefers more group interactions and social learning or collaboration. Reflective learners tend to be more introspective. They are quiet, solitary learners who learn best by thinking through information. They can, however, process information with the help of a partner, but definitely not in a group. They will examine and investigate information through inward introspection. This type of learner needs time to process information quietly before sharing or expressing their thoughts on the matter. Let's take a moment to compare the two preferences. The active learner is more social, who prefers doing hands-on applications, in contrast to the reflective learner who is quiet and solitary to learn best. Felder and Silverman recognized the origins of the VAK theory and the value of the kinesthetic learner. However, Felder/Silverman did not emphasize the kinesthetic learner, feeling it was not relevant to the engineering students. The visual or verbal learning preference within the Felder and Silverman index of learning styles look at the preference of the learner on how the new information is presented. Visual learners are going to prefer visual means to learn, such as diagrams, graphs, pictures, and even demonstrations. This type of learner generally struggles in traditional learning centers, as the information is more likely to be given through audio means such as lectures. Verbal learners are referred to as the audio learner in the VAK model. They are going to excel in learning situations that are focused on hearing, such as discussions, listening, or explanations. They will get the most of their learning through words. Let's compare the two preferences on how individuals like to have information presented to them. The visual learner is interested in anything presented in a way to see it. They especially like demonstrations. The verbal learner is all about the words, like hearing in lectures. It is important to remember that this theory emphasizes that the best learners are those that can process presented information through either verbal or visual means. These preferences are based off of the works of Carl Jung, who identified the continuum between sensing and intuition. This continuum is seen in other learning styles as well. The sensing and intuition preferences relate to how information is perceived or taken in. Sensing preference learns best by focusing on facts and data. They are a procedural, methodical learner who prefers logistics. They like details and doing more hands-on application type of work, which leads them to be more details-oriented. They prefer information that has a real-world application based on proven problem-solving methodologies. Since this preference tends to be more methodical, they also tend to be a slower and more careful learner. Intuitive learners prefer the conceptual and theory. They look for innovative and interesting ways to apply information. They like new information and quickly process this new information. They also like to look at abstract content. This preference tends to be quick, fast, and swift to assimilate new information. Comparing the sensing and intuition preferences, the sensing preference prefers the concrete facts, data, and details. The intuitive preference likes the theory and are quick to process new information. Interestingly, Felder and Silverman share that every individual will use both sensing and intuitive at varying times, despite having an inclination toward one preference or the other. The last preferences are sequential and global. The sequential and global preferences address how a learner organizes and understands new information. The sequential learner will learn in a sequential and methodical thinking. They are linear in their approach, tending to organize their approach in small steps. They are logical in their problem solving and learning. This learning preference can start with pieces of information and move to a bigger picture without needing all of it at one time with a steady progression of difficulty. Global preference is more holistic. This approach will look at the whole picture and pull it down into smaller steps. This type of learner will grab information in spurts with a random and seemingly disconnected data and then puts it together. They are quick to look at and solve complex information with innovative approaches. In contrast to the sequential learner, the global learner needs the big picture first before being able to move to the details. The sequential learner is going to prefer to have information organized in a methodical and linear manner. They like learning in smaller steps that lead to the larger picture, while the global learner prefers the larger picture with a holistic approach.